Hi everyone, we're back for the game segment of today's podcast. We're going to be doing a knockoff family feud for Westlake edition with our principal, Mr. Shanker, and our vice principal, Mr. Brady. Now Mila's going to be introducing the game.
Okay, so we interviewed 100 students, exactly 100, so shout out if you were a part of the interviews. And we have 5 questions, and whoever gets the buzzer first gets a chance to answer. And if they get the top answer, they get the point. And if they don't get the top answer, the other person gets the chance to steal. And if they get a higher answer, they get the point. So let's just begin. So the first question, just to clarify before I ask, this is not including the deli food. So no wraps, no sandwiches, no nothing.
Or anything in the fridge either.
Yes. So.
Oh, this is going to be, I don't know.
Okay. Name the top ranked school hot food.
He got it.
Pizza.
No.
Not even on the list.
That's not even in the top
Not
5.
even
I'm
in the
actually
top
shocked by that. Okay, so you got to
Wow.
steal.
See?
If
Yeah.
you get one
Think
of
she
these
knows.
answers, you get the point. If not, then it goes back to him.
I'm going to say it's the Nuggets.
Yep.
Second answer.
That's the second. 17 people said that. The top answer with 39. No, that's actually fourth. That was my answer. The top answer with 39 is breakfast, which was today, actually.
Breakfast for
The
lunch.
waffles.
Yep.
Yes, I do see the waffles
Okay.
off in the hallways.
Yes.
Next, name the student body's favorite quarter of school.
First quarter.
Yes!
That was 39
Wow.
people. Second was quarter 4. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
2-0. You
You
more
really
there is-
need this
and there's
one,
really only
otherwise
for
you're
one more,
automatically
so-
out.
so.
But we'll keep going. Name the most
Sympathy.
underrated school sport. I don't
You
know.
got
I think he got it.
Come on, you. Okay.
Paper for beauty.
Okay.
No. I defer because you're almost going to lose. So
He said that he got it.
Flag football.
It's not.
That actually doesn't count because-
it's not flag football. It's an only
Yeah,
1
I
year.
should have clarified it. It
So,
needs
like,
to
you
be one
can't
that's been
gauge
running. So we'll give you another opportunity.
Swimming.
Close, but no,
No,
not even on there.
it's not on the list.
People said that though.
All right.
that's not even on the list, but they're making you feel good.
People did
The
say
most
that.
underrated.
That had
Yes.
like 5.
Underrated. I would have to say ice hockey.
Yeah!
that.
27
Wow,
people. Okay.
Really good.
Well, I guess we'll keep going to see if Mr. Shanker could get a clean sweep.
I
But
think,
Probably because they got the answers right.
see, this is what happens. See, as soon as someone's losing, they think that there's all nefarious ways in which they're not winning.
anyways,
Okay.
You would make it feel good.
Next,
Way out.
name something students do when the teacher isn't looking.
I would have to say go on a game on their Chromebook.
yes, that's right. Go.
No. Chromebook.
Go on.
No.
Oh.
Cell phone.
Yes! My bad.
I'm
computer
thinking
now.
that all of our students are good students and don't really have their cell phones with them. That's
Well,
why I think
maybe
that's
not
why I
next
said Chromebook.
year.
Otherwise, I should have
Okay,
just
good
said.
answer. Good answer.
Oh,
Game.
honorable mention for this one. One person said throw stuff at each other. That's an honorable mention. If one of you guys would have said that, you would have gotten the top
See?
5.
Okay.
I could have said if I thought of one classroom.
Lastly, name a class that is commonly rumored to be the most challenging at Westlake.
Who got
I
it?
don't.
He
Brady,
got it?
Brady.
It's right.
Principles of algebra and geometry.
No.
Unfortunately,
No.
not.
Nope.
No.
Not even. I don't think one person said
No.
that.
Yeah.
It
no.
is. It has got to be.
Oh, academically?
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
academically?
No,
No.
just like any
No.
student says.
Can't clarify your answer now. I'm between 2, but I think it's probably AP World.
No,
but that's
that
on
is
there.
so true.
I didn't think people were going to say that.
A lot
That's
of
on the
people said
list.
that.
Okay,
Okay.
now back to
Physics?
you. Can you get higher?
AP stats?
No.
No, I don't know. This is like a very
So-
inaccurate list to me.
Nope. So Chem Honors.
Yes, that's on the list.
That is on the list. Okay, but
That's
AP
the
World's
5th.
higher.
That's 5th.
AP
Let's see if
World
you
higher.
AP World was
Yes.
3rd.
So then physics.
Yes.
Yeah. I
That's
was
the
gonna say
answer.
physics or AP World before.
That's
Yeah.
the answer.
Wow, that was a good game. Good job, Mr.
Yep,
Brady.
that's all it.
Thanks. Well, you
know
know
what?
happens when
A for effort,
You know
Mr.
what?
Brady.
Yeah.
you have someone who really
High five, please.
who really knows the school. So.
Yeah, shake of the hands.
Yes.
Most awkward high five.
Now introducing Mr. Shaker.
Girls, thank you. It's great being here.
How was your day so far?
It's getting harder and harder every day.
Oh no,
Yes,
yeah. This
yes.
is like the home stretch.
Yeah.
It is a
Got
home
like
stretch.
2 more days.
And yesterday was very shocking.
Your walkout.
Yes,
Did you
very
enjoy
shocking.
that?
If you can see the video, you can see how red my face was. Yeah. So I love being embarrassed. It's my favorite thing in life. So
We've got to return the favor.
yes.
We got it.
So, as many of us know, Mr. Shanker is leaving us after this year. So, if this is posted on Westlake Day, this is his last full day of Westlake.
So
we
sad.
just want to ask him a couple questions before he leaves us.
To end off really the year and the whole
Journey
The
of
career,
Westlake.
the career, the
the
journey.
career.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the word I was looking for. So let's get into some questions. So the question that we ask everyone is, how did you get to Westlake?
Oh, it's it's actually a funny story, and then I'm going to tell you a really weird connection.
Okay.
So I had a friend who I had worked with at Harrison High School when I was teaching,
Okay.
and also when I was an administrator there, that happened to be here in a director role. And when I first thought the job was going to be posted, the former principal, there was an article in the local paper, and it was about 8 months before the job actually was posted. And the article was really about high school principal taking over an alternative high school program for the district. So my comment to my wife at the time was, there'll probably be a principalship opening up pretty soon in that district. Bring it 6 months later, of course, the job was posted. I applied. Never had heard of Westlake in my entire. And I grew up in
I feel like not many
I
people
grew up.
do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Grew up in Mapac. Never heard of Westlake. Didn't know of another W school except White Plains and Walter Panis High School. And so I applied. And then after I sent the application, I called my friend who happened to be working here because she had told me about the job opening. And I said, wait a second, did I just apply for the Mount Pleasant Cottage School? Because I didn't know even Mount Pleasant School District. So thank God it wasn't Mount Pleasant Cottage School. It actually was Mount Pleasant Central Schools and Westlake. So that's how I wound up here, coming off of Long Island, where I was for 4 years.
Wow.
The ironic connection is this. So my wife, who is native to Brooklyn, her niece, not her niece, really her cousin, sorry, was having her Sweet 16 when we were just leaving college. So this is now going back to 1993.
Wow.
And at that Sweet 16 party, she said she had a psychic there. So, psychic readings,
Oh,
all
goodness.
fun
That's
and
really cool.
yeah, fun and games, So I sat down, and this psychic, and the one question I asked is, I was graduating from my master's program in teaching. I'm like, where am I going to wind up? She said, I see you in a school with a W.
Oh
It's
my
got a W in
gosh.
it.
What are the odds of that?
I'm like, I'm not working in White Plains.
Yeah.
So I forgot about that for decades. So I went on to my career. I started out in Long Island, went to Harrison, wound up as a principal in Hendrick Hudson, and then full story all the way around. I wound up in Westlake.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And then my
That is
career in a
crazy.
school with a W.
That being said, do you have any teaching background, or you
Yeah.
went straight? Oh,
Yep. So social studies education was my focus.
Really?
I did actually global studies, AP European history.
wow.
Wow.
So
that's
that was-
seniors, right?
Yeah, seniors
Typical.
when I taught at Harrison, it was seniors. Some schools do it earlier, but it's a really senior course. So very big into history. Love comparative religious studies. Like, that's my background.
Yikes, that's
Yeah.
not mine.
Not mine either.
Not
You know
ours.
what? Glad for you.
Yep. But always an area of interest for me. That and politics. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, how many years have you been at Westlake?
So 15 in total.
Okay.
Technically, if you look at how how things unfold this year, because I really retired in December, right? So according to the district records, I really retired in December. Then they hired me back to finish the year. There's a whole bunch of nonsense as to why that's beneficial for retirement and everything else. But so technically, yes, 15 years solidly. But if you look at my years as principal in the role, technically I was 14 and a half, and then a half a year of an interim.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that's funny.
Yes.
What has been the most rewarding part of your career at Westlake?
So I've had a few people ask me this question over the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things that we collectively, the faculty, administrative colleagues, district office people that we worked on that have really changed Westlake. And so I can point to things that you guys live now as commonplace in the high school, right? Block scheduling, variety of different courses offered, different pathways of study. But the thing that is actually the most probably impactful thing that I'm most proud of is actually the cultural change in the building.
Really?
Yeah. So one of the things, and if you talk to a lot of faculty that I've had years here, years beyond my 15, and you ask them about what the culture of the building was like, the building operated very differently, meaning people closed their doors, people didn't collaborate, people kind of kept to themselves because everyone was fearing, like, would somebody administrative-wise call them out for doing something wrong. So it was a much more sheltered building.
Okay.
And that was the first, I guess, introduction that I got for some people that I began talking to when I first started here is, why is there like this, almost like this post-traumatic stress disorder syndrome going on here? And people began to start telling me about the former principal. And he was, I guess, a little unhinged, you could say. So people kind of didn't do a lot that actually put themselves out there. And the culture change, that fed right down to the students. The students were not really focused on what can you use Westlake High School for to get you to your next place. They're more focused on what fun can we have during the day. And it usually wasn't clean fun.
Oh, gosh.
So the culture change of really having students really value what they do here and experience here, and the culture change of really seeing teachers do their best work is probably the thing I'm most proud of.
That's amazing.
a good thing to be proud of.
Yeah. You want to ask the next question?
Okay, the next question is, we asked that. What was your biggest challenge as a principal, and how did you overcome that?
I would say the biggest challenge was probably working with the guidance department. No, just kidding. No, the biggest challenge here, I have to say, from all the changes that were made, there was never any real challenge from the community, which is really interesting. Great. So it doesn't fall in that realm. I think the biggest challenge is probably an internal challenge, and that was what I was willing and wishing and hoping for this building, making it come to fruition, right? Mm-hmm. How do you bring a vision forward and get people to buy in, not knowing whether people would trust you to buy in, right? So that's an internal. You guys will find that in your careers in life, like you believe in something and you really want it to happen, but you have to bring people along with you.
Yes.
So the challenge of getting people to see your vision and make it their own is an internal challenge. Mm-hmm. What I was pleasantly surprised by is that the faculty were tremendously supportive. They were really risk takers. They really wanted to do the right thing by kids.
That's amazing. I just have a question off the top of my head. As for Principal Advisory Group, did you create that, or was that already here?
No, Principal Advisory is something I brought. So in every building that I've been a principal at, so Hendrick Hudson, Harrison High School, Glen Cove High School, and then here. Mm-hmm. Every building I've always created a Principal's Advisory.
That's great.
It's formed in different ways in different places. Here, the system of using social studies classes and getting representatives from each of those sections guaranteed me a good cross-section of kids of ages and of interests.
Mm-hmm. Social studies, ironic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Social studies is really the connection there. It's although it is my subject and my favorite subject, right? I do have a bias there. The connection to social studies is really because I wanted students to recognize the value of seeing almost a mock of our government in our
mm-hmm.
country, right?
Yeah,
so you have student council, which kind of functions more like the Senate, mm-hmm. and Principal's Advisory is more like the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
Right? So that kind of connection.
Amazing, yes. Yeah. Next question. What are you going to miss the most about Westlake?
That's hard. There's a lot. I think the piece that is I think the most impactful on me is actually the people. It's mm-hmm. not the program we put in place. It's not the things we created, but it's the people. And that's you think about 15 years of students with about 140 per class of how many students that I've seen through their 4 years graduate, have them come back, share stories. I have graduates still that reach out every semester or two, and they'll send me a quick note and say, here's what's going on. I had, so just a funny story because it kind of connects to the larger piece. But you guys may or may not know Mr. Iavani.
Yes.
And Miss Oliveras both were my teachers at Glen Cove.
What?
So when I applied
Miss
here,
Oliveras?
yes.
Oh my goodness.
So they were teachers that worked with me in Glen Cove. Both of them were interested in moving off of the island. Miss Oliveras was in Queens, and the positions when I applied here and was hired, those positions came open. I said, you should apply.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you guys continue your work with me. So they applied. They got hired. Independent of me because I was not formally the principal yet. So in Glen Cove, and I was telling Mr. Iavani this story about a month ago, I had a student, his name is Garen. He's found me on Facebook. So this is a kid who is, so it's 15 years here, 4 years there, so 19 years ago.
Wow.
Is a student who I graduated. In my graduation speech, I had put a few student names in there, and he was one because he was very much into basketball. And I had made a connection to, Garen playing in the NBA one day. And so long story short, Garen didn't get to the NBA, but Garen got picked up by the Egyptian basketball team and played overseas for a number of years of his career, and then switched to the Armenian team and spent a career in basketball. He reached
That's
out,
so cool.
he just said, we were sitting around, old Glen Cove guys, they were sitting down, and we were thinking about, when you were our principal, and when you put my name in that speech and talked to me, he's like, you don't understand how impactful that was.
Oh wow, that's so sweet.
So those are the things that you miss the most.
Yeah.
Right. There's those stories.
That stands out.
Right.
Yes,
right.
yes, your legacy,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So in that case, what legacy do you wish to leave on students? Like, what is one thing that you wish for all students to take with them after leaving Westlake High School?
So now you're tapping into my graduation speech a little bit for this class.
Oh.
I don't know how much I can reveal.
It's coming up.
Yes, because I have a different message every year for different classes, and this one is kind of fitting on both fronts. My last graduation speech and a message to students. But I would say, without revealing too much, it's about understanding the power you have to be impactful on other people.
That's very good. That's a very good lesson. Yeah. I think that's definitely something you taught us. And that being said, what is one lesson that you have learned in your career as a principal?
There's a lot that I learned. There's one piece that as I look at my career, and that includes all of my principalships. The one thing that I learned from Westlake and the time spent here is the value of seeing the work through. All right. And what I mean by that is as a younger principal, when I took over in Hendrick Hudson, I was the youngest principal in Westchester. And what I saw there was I wanted to get things done, and then I wanted to move on. So I stayed for 4 years. Typical kind of principal. Usually principals stay 3 to 5 years, roughly.
That's it?
Yeah, they move around
I
a lot.
never knew that.
Yeah. It's very rare to see more than 5-6 years in one place.
Wow.
So I did some things, I moved on. I went to Harrison, I did some things, I moved on. I went to Glen Cove, I did some things, I moved on. I came here. And the piece that I realized here is the seeds that you sow, if you never stay to see them germinate and grow and actually turn into something that's really positive, you don't really get a chance to appreciate the work and the time you put in. Right?
Yeah.
So I should have learned that earlier in my career, and probably should have, watched the things that I wanted to see grow and help them grow.
Yeah.
Because any change in a system, you guys will see this again in your lives. So it takes a good decade to see real change, right? So what I learned most is the value of staying.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the past 2 years, we've seen, this is like a little off topic, but for Halloween, you really go all out.
Well, that's because of someone
you and
who
Mr.
I hired.
Brady.
Yeah, it's a problem when you hire certain people. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite costume that you've done?
So, unbeknownst to Mr. Brady, because he actually is the inspiration behind some of those dress-ups, because I would not buy them myself. But I, in my earlier life, I would always make Halloween costumes. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays.
You made them?
Yeah, I used to
Wow.
make costumes. Not these ones that we've worn. We actually
Yeah,
purchased,
though
but
they're pretty extreme.
the ones in my past, like I said, Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. I was the house on the block that
Oh goodness.
made the haunted tunnel leading up to the front door
Oh
and
my.
that kind of stuff. Jumped out at kids, sitting in there like a scarecrow on your front porch and then come alive. Like that was me. It's just I never did it in schools because it's kind of you don't know how people are going to take that stuff.
Yeah.
So the Halloween costumes that we did here, certainly funny, but certainly inspired by Mr. Brady. In my life, my Halloween costumes, I've done a lot of different costumes. But I think my best one was when I made myself and my wife roadkill.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think
Why would
that
you
was
do
one of my
that?
better creations. So,
Wow.
yes,
What
yes.
gave you that idea?
You think about things. You get a painter suit.
Oh
you
my goodness.
make it look like an animal. Put some tire tracks across. It's all good. So.
That's crazy.
And I know you mentioned that you and Mr. Brady are kind of pranksters around here. Is there any other teachers that you feel like you and them just have this bond of like pranking the students? Because I feel like every time there's a holiday, Mr. Shanker's up to something.
There's a good amount of fun in the building. I think
For
that's
sure.
really important for a school.
Yeah.
And there are more than you know, and you will see in your years remaining here at Westlake. There are a number of teachers that, as you get to know them and they feel comfortable with you, you will see a lot more pranking. But there is a solid core. I can name a bunch of names between Mr. DiPaolo, Miss Frawley, Miss Morris thrown in there. You definitely get
Oh,
Mr.
goodness.
Clark in there. You get Mr. McClintock in there. You throw a few other names, Mr. Zerba and a few others.
Zerba.
And you definitely see sometimes pranks you guys will not recognize are happening, and other times ones that are very obvious. So yeah, it's a good number of comedic teachers here.
Yeah.
Good
So,
no, yeah.
Yes.
That's really all the questions we have for you. Do you have any for us?
I can ask you guys a lot of questions.
Go for
So
it.
I think the biggest thing, and I think it's one really impactful that you guys have brought this podcast to Westlake.
Thank you.
The few that I've seen, and I know this will continue for years to come. I think it's a great addition. But how does this play into your futures? What do you do with it?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I will be doing anything as in like pursuing a podcast as my future. I would love to do that, but I don't know how I would really bring this in. Maybe when I go to college. I know Mr. DiPaolo broadcasted, and he had a little network when he went to college, so I would definitely be interested in doing that. But how about you?
I would say that even if I'm not going to do a podcast in the future, I think that it's good to have the skill of speaking with adults like you or like
I
Mr.
agree.
Brady, and I think that it's important to be able to, we have a lot of things going on in our school, and whether it's relayed through student council, relayed through the news, like it's a fun way to like get students
Yes, I agree.
put out, because it's not always, like in the articles, we don't create those articles, so it's
Yes.
fun to
Right.
like have that, and I think that just like social skills, always building, and that can be used anywhere in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good perspective to have, because out of every skill that you will have and develop through school and through life experiences like this, if you can't communicate, you aren't going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So, but think about the connection to communications as a major. Think about,
Yes.
there is a place for this. It may not be this particularly, right, where you're going to go to college and come out and be a podcaster.
Yeah.
But the ability to be in communications and do something either in public relations or something in that area plays on all these same skills.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
especially in this time where there's so much like media.
Yep.
I feel like being able to like market yourself and like advertise something that you'd want is like very important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
You got
Well,
anything else?
Just want to say thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you
Yeah, thank you
Thanks.
for coming.
Thanks.
for on one of your last days giving us your time.
My pleasure.
And that's all. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we can't wait to see you next year.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.